Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Safest Family on the Block, where knowledge is power. I'm your host, Jason, and joining me today is Adam David Jones. Hello, Adam.
Hey, how are you, sir? It's been a while since we were able to put this together. I hope you're feeling better, and I'm happy to be here, man.
Same to you, man. I'm so glad to have you on the show. Now, Adam, you come to us from a pretty unique background in terms of safety. So why don't we start with just tell us your story a little bit?
Oh my. Okay, well, I used to never worry about my safety. 6.5 years ago, I walked wherever I wanted to, was friends with anybody. Nothing ever bothered me. I had lived in Spanish Harlem and real Harlem and all kinds of places, and I knew how to take care of myself, I thought. And then 6 years ago, a man attacked me, crushed the back of my skull with a cinder block, and I was in a coma for a month. I almost died. Everybody thought I would probably die, but I didn't. And I thought it was probably like a young kid, just scared, hungry. He got my $60. The police picked him up in under an hour. He was covered in my blood. My money was in his pocket. And a year later, he was acquitted by a jury. Yeah, I know. And at that point, I dedicated my life to never letting this happen to somebody else if I could help it. And that's why I got into safety. Technology safety, to be clear, because I'm trying to scale this so everybody in the world can walk around and maybe feel like a little bit like I used to feel and not have to worry. Or at least have the tools that they need to keep themselves safe. So that's what I'm working on now, man.
Excellent. And one of the things I really appreciate about your story is there's a lot of folks who have some kind of violent encounter and come out of that and go sign up for karate lessons or spend a bunch of time on the range to make sure that they never experience that again.
Right.
But you want to make sure that nobody experiences that again. And you've put together a project called Zeer. And can you tell us a little bit about Zeer? ZeerSafe, right?
Zeer actually goes by Zeer. My friend who helped invent the name Swiffer 30 years ago helped me come up with it, so I defer to him. Zeer is next generational personal safety. How do I describe it? So it's a way for you to feel safe wherever you go, I hope, because you just push a button or say a secret safe word, and your phone or your smartwatch, any kind of connected device, will live stream your location, audio, video, medical information to first responders and your loved ones. So everyone knows where you are, that you're in danger, and they can get to you more quickly. And also, it saves that data to the cloud. So what happened to me doesn't happen to you, where he said, she said. And the long-term goal is that crime rates should go down theoretically, because if everybody in your community has Zeer, then they'll know not to attack anybody in your community. In fact, Miami-Dade County has suggested that maybe we do a pilot there in a community of 5,000 to 15,000 people. And let's see over 12 months if crime rates start to go down. And first responders will be able to get to you more quickly as well. That should also happen.
So I installed it on my phone, and then either I hit the panic button physically, or I set it up so that if I use the word Bandersnatch, the phone knows that I'm in trouble.
That's a good safe word, actually.
Well, not for me. From one of my favorite poems, I say it randomly at least once a week. But
oh, well, then it's not a good safe word, Jason. No.
But if that's the word, then it will automatically activate. Send my information out there, and also recording, whether it's in my pocket, the audio, or whether it's I can get it out and show people, hey, you're on camera, buddy. As assurance, as well as some follow-ups that law enforcement can prove who did what. It's very interesting product. Now, there are some other safety apps out there, and I know you do great market research. So could you tell us a little bit what differentiates Zeer from, say, Life 360?
Some of the things that do differentiate it is that, as far as I understand, Life 360. Now, I get some of them are competitors confused, to be frank.
No.
But I don't believe Life 360 can live stream data to emergency responders. I believe there's an intermediary that can receive that data, call 911, tell them where you are, what's happening, etc. Our product is trying to create a frictionless system from the moment of a danger, medical or criminal, to response and then to prosecution. So that's one of the differentiators. The other differentiator, which I did not mention before, and this will be more important in 3 to 4 years, is that we use distributed ledger technology, blockchain, to save your data anonymously. And you can use that video, you can use your health data to prosecute a criminal, and no one can say it didn't happen. No one can say, oh, well, you're Jeff Bezos, you manipulate that video, or what have you. No, it doesn't matter how rich you are, you cannot mess with that data. That's one of our different value adds.
And in this era where deep fake videos are becoming more and more common, having confidence in the validity of that video can be very effective, I think.
Yeah, and the District of Justice, the DOJ, said in 2017, anything on a public blockchain is prima facie facts. You don't have to get a professional proof it has never been manipulated. You just cannot fake it. So it is the future of NG9, next generation 911. The question is, are we going to incorporate it now, as there's $15 billion in the infrastructure pipeline for NG911 development? Are we going to prepare it for the next 20, 30 years when deepfakes is even more prevalent? Or are we going to have to backtrack and try and reinvent the wheel because we didn't do it today?
That makes good sense. Now, a lot of what we're talking on is a kind of institutional, industrial level. However, it can also be very, very helpful just for individuals. I know that's not rolled out yet, but we're talking in general about safety apps, making sure people know, can find your location when you can. One thing that I'm very interested in is this seems like it could also be applied for a domestic violence kind of situation.
That is something that I've thought a lot about.
He said she's an enormous problem there.
Yes, exactly. So of course, he said, she said generally means in sexual assault cases, because that's where there's such a huge discrepancy between what the victim experienced and what the accused says really happened. But it's also prevalent in domestic violence. And the thing about domestic violence that we've thought hard about and talked to stakeholders is that often people that are experiencing domestic violence do not want to call 911, at least not right away. One of the things you could do with Zeer, just as it right out of the box, pretty easily, you could open Zeer, record evidence, but not necessarily call 911, not alert your sister or your mother that you are in danger, not the first time. But we hope that the survivor, as they gain this evidence and they validate their story, one time they're going to open Zeer, they're going to call 911, they're going to live stream that data, and they're going to have a plethora of evidence to prosecute the person that has been hurting them for so long. That is because it's really important to me, as someone who did survive violence, that the survivor has control over their data. Not even the police, not even the prosecutors, but the survivor. So they can do what they want with it when they want. That is really important to me because I want to empower people more than I want to empower institutions, honestly.
That makes good sense. I could also see a conversation in a domestic violence situation where there's somebody who is being abused at home and they're not ready to go to the police. They don't hit that panic button, but they've started recording things.
Yes.
And then when they sit down with a loved one and go through the 18 videos on the cloud, they just kind of realized, oh man, when you look at it that way, this is way more serious than I've been imagining.
Right.
It's time for me to move out. Because very often in those domestic violence situations, the victim thinks of just the most recent time rather than the long-term body of abuse.
That's true. I think about that too with, and this is not in our wheelhouse right now, to be honest, but cyberbullying. I think about younger people, children, teenagers being cyberbullied and pushing it off and not really, think about Snapchat, right? Not having evidence of a long-term problem. And also my co-founder, Tamoy, God bless him, he's an expert in cybersecurity. And that is one of the things that we've actually asked Snapchat to work with us on, because we can use this same hashing algorithm to prove every second of cyberbullying or any data really happened at the time that it did, between two individuals, etc. So yes, there's a lot of different ways that we can help people with this same technology.
Outstanding. And what's the status of Zeer in particular right now in terms of getting implemented?
Well, as of today, I received the iOS build. I should be testing it right now. I will as soon as we're done talking. And we are preparing to release to the B2C market. We have already been in discussion with colleges and universities to release Zeer within their college community. I mean, the campus community is interesting because it's an institution, as you said, like, you think about government, et cetera. They have a captive audience in their students and their faculty. They have their own security services, and we can implement Zeer quicker and faster and cheaper than we can with the federal and state governments, which has a long sales process. You have to talk to the IT department. You have to talk to the prosecutors. It could take years, honestly. And it's okay. I'll stick to it until it's done. But we can implement next semester in your college campus or university, start helping young people, where, as we all know, sexual assault is a huge problem. So anyway, we've been talking to colleges and universities for months, but our B2C model, like you said, where you could just have your father, your brother, your sister, etc., all on the same platform to share that data between each other, that's about to ready to be released. And hopefully, because it's going to be 100% effective, 1000%, never going to fail. Before the end of this month, maybe even before the end of this week, if we run into a few bugs, we will be on the open market for everyone to download and use it.
It's interesting that you bring up campus safety, because of course that's a situation where a lot of dangerous Venn diagrams intersect. You have a body of people who are at least a little bit affluent, who are also terribly naive.
Right.
Forgive me, 18 and 19-year-olds who are watching the show right now, but you lost little sheep in the woods.
Unless you've been listening to this podcast for the last few years, then you're okay. Probably.
Hopefully that'll help. And then on top of that, you've got, in very many cases, a security and safety apparatus that is more incentivized to downplay the reporting of violence rather than investigate and stop violence because of economic factors. And then you've got a criminal element locally who knows both of those things.
Yep.
And goes in and targets that. And on top of that, you've got universities are supposed to be open and welcoming. And so it would not be good for them to crack down and demand ID to come on campus and situations like that. And all those combine into a very, very dangerous situation. College campuses are historically the most dangerous neighborhood in the country for women 18 and 24. And they're not much better for men.
Wow.
So getting Zeer on campus or some other kind of security apparatus.
Great point. Great point, Jason.
So I can see this being very useful.
So do we. Our go-to-market strategy, as you might say, was to show that Zeer works at a small college or university in and around Philadelphia, where I'm mostly based, and a lot of my team members are. There's over 50 schools that do not have a technology solution and are of the smaller school persuasion, if you will. They're not Penn State University, they're not Temple. But even in so they need something, and in those bigger schools, what we found by doing customer research, talking to students are not using these things. Even if they exist, they don't, in one of our competitors, they don't use it. So one of our strategies, and Jason's familiar with this because we talked about it before, is to build a play to earn kind of situation where students will learn how to be safe in their community, learn how to use Zeer and everybody needs, because even if you download Zeer, but you never test it, you don't remember your safe word when you're in a crisis, it's not going to be any good. But so what we are trying to do is get Zeer to campus communities and then teach students how to be safe, how to use the product, how to work with each other to build a safer community. And then if we can show that it's driving down crime, prosecuting bad actors in a community of 5,000 people where there is danger, like you said, Jason, then we can prove that it will work in a town of 100,000 people, a county of 600,000 people, et cetera, until we scale up. And everybody has this. And real quick, we're not reinventing the wheel. Everything that we carry around in our pockets could be used for this. Mm-hmm. All we have to do is have the political will to do it. Just do it. Sound like Nike. But seriously, let's just try to help each other. And yeah, so that's why I'm here.
Absolutely. And that's, again, that institutional part, I think, can be very valuable, especially, again, for college students. Another thing about a lot of the small colleges is they aren't in the very best neighborhoods. And yet you got a lot of suburbanites coming in, going to class right into the middle of neighborhoods that they have not previously ventured into and don't understand how they work. But also, you've got the civilian release or the personal release coming out, and having your family group, having your friend group, having the four people in your small business all have Zeer on their phones, creates this communication infrastructure and also just an awareness of safety that you get by installing the app, using it from time to time, and thinking of those things through. You know, talked that I've had a martial arts experience. I've been doing it coming on to 40 years now, and none of the kicking and punching and stabbing and shooting that I've learned has been nearly as valuable as thinking about it just enough so that if I'm in a potentially dangerous situation, I've already got part of a plan.
Yeah, I know you talk about that a lot. Plan, be aware is something I hear from you a lot. And plan.
Just the simple act of involving yourself with this software. And I don't want this just to be an ad for Zeer. Zeer is a great product and Adam's a great guy, but there's a lot of other ones out there. Will Geddes' Tactics On is excellent. Nick Hughes just came out with one. Life 360 I liked for a very long time, but then it was just recently released. They've been selling location data, including that of minors.
Yes.
Now they've come out and they've done a lot of things. They're off my bad guy list, but because their response to getting caught has been pretty good. I mean, they still did it, but I'm not going to bash on too much. But whatever product you put on your phone, just the act of doing that creates conversations, creates a thought process, and also, especially for parents, by talking through when you set up your 13-year-old with a phone and make one of the contingencies by which they earn that phone. You will have Zeer installed, or you will have Tactics On installed, and it will be active at all times.
Right.
It creates realistic, workable safety solutions immediately, and it opens up their mind and introduces them in a non-frightening way to some of the most important security factors, like let the people who will come to the rescue know where you are.
Yeah, I love it. If I may quickly plug
Yeah,
a new feature for Zeer, we call it the
absolutely.
buddy walk or the follow
Mhm.
me. So like when you go out with your friends at night, they become your emergency contacts,
Mm.
right? You can push a button. You don't have to like live stream all the information, call police, but you if you don't need to, but you can push a button and then they will know where you are, through that night. Did where's Sarah? Oh, get out Zier, see where she is. And we're also building geofencing into it. So that way, if Sarah leaves the building to go back to her dorm, you get a
Mm.
notification. If she doesn't get back to her dorm in the right amount of time that's reasonable, you'll get a notification. And when she gets back to her dorm in a reasonable amount of time, it turns off.
Or
Um,
do that also in a party situation where
yeah,
one member party is the geofence activates, they're leaving the door, leaving the house,
yeah.
and that tells you to go find her, make sure she's going willingly and
Good point.
and not roofied or just so drunk that the difference is
Yeah, good
uh
point.
and
Good
now
point.
this night buddy system work so you can send an alert just to your buddies? For example, a woman in a club who's just really tired of this guy. He's a little creepy, but he's not doing anything over it. You can just kind of
Uh-huh.
push the button and let your friends know to come on over here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They already if you have activated buddy walk, they already know where you are. But if you push
Mhm.
a button and like call for help, it will, even if you don't call the police, it will send an alert to them.
Okay.
Um, and for universities or other institutions in particular, they would be able to set boundaries just so they will know if their students are on campus or in a dangerous area.
Mm.
If you have 1/3 of campus, Temple University, that lives off campus in maybe a dangerous high crime area, it can alert, it could turn on when they walk into that area and turn off when they get into just so the campus security knows where they are. And it's up to the user if they want to share that data or not. That's important to me, of course. And that's one of the reasons, if we go back to the Live 360 thing, that's why we charge, because we're not going to sell your data. We are GDPR compliant. It's a General Data Privacy Act regulation of Europe, which is the most stringent data privacy law in the world, because it's important to who we are. It's important to our character.
Yeah.
You have to have, honestly, I say sometimes, and I'm probably not exaggerating, your safety is at least as important as your privacy.
Yeah.
They both have to do with being an autonomous individual wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course, to say nothing of if you're not careful with privacy, there's a possibility of getting hacked in a way that means that stalkers can use it to find out where you are.
Yeah, that's something else I've heard on your podcast. I know.
gotta keep track of all of those things.
Yeah.
Well, so this is an exciting technology, but one of the things that I kind of want to mention is that it does a lot of very smart, very useful things that I believe can make people safe. And then some of the other versions of similar software are already doing things that can help us stay safe.
Mm-hmm.
But it boils down to new ways to do low-tech things that we've always known are effective.
Yeah.
Letting people know where you're going. Back in the 80s, back in the Stone Age, when we were all communicating by phones that were stuck to the wall, there'd still be the, hey, give me a call when you get home.
Right.
Give me a call when you get.
Do you do that when your wife says, give me a call when you get to work? Do you remember to call her? Because honest to goodness, I never do that with my girlfriend. And I'm guilty. And this is one of the things we can do. It's simple, right? Geofence, when I walk home, it sends a text that says, I'm home safe, honey.
Yeah, all by itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that idea has been around for forever. The idea of letting the people who care about you know when you've arrived somewhere safe or when you're entering into a dangerous situation.
Oh.
So they know to send help if it's been too long since they heard from you again. The idea of helping the people who can come render assistance find out where you are as quickly as possible. What was that? there was that app that came out a little while ago called 3 Words. Did you hear about this?
No, I did not. Is it still out? I haven't.
Yeah.
Words.
Some very creative, very intelligent people with a lot more time on their hands than I have divvied up the entire world into sectors that I think are like 9 yards on a side, and created 3-word designations for each of those spots. So you could say to your friend, hey, I'm in zebra blue unicorn. And then they could look on the app, and then you would know a 9, like I'm not sure about 9 yards. It might be 3 yards.
No way, man. I've never heard this.
Yeah, it's being used a lot in the tactical community, because those are the people who would need to use that. Yeah. Where, going into the app and looking that up and getting the words and then saying it on the radio takes less time, than saying, hey, yeah, I'm in John's living room, right. Which works better for most of us. Right. But that concept of drilling down and making sure that the people who need to render help know exactly where you are, and is hugely powerful, especially now in the age of cell phones, where just the default tracking on the phone is going to give you about a quarter mile square area.
Right, exactly.
Which there's stories every year about people being in a car wreck that goes over a berm or in a ditch or into some woods, and the first responders can't find them.
Yes, that's what we do. That's one of the things that Zeer does. We use VoIP, voice over internet protocol. That way we can send exact location, live audio, video, health data. Heck, we can send your heart rate from your Apple Watch.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Your blood pressure. The rich data of next generation 911 is a game changer. And if you have to use VoIP to do it, which is what we do, right?
Mm.
It's really gonna change a lot. And it's the technology is mature, it's ready. You need 5G wearable devices, and machine learning. Even like we can interpret whether you're having a heart attack or fell down a flight of stairs or are choking, or I'm an epileptic now since I was attacked. We can interpret that. We can start to interpret that data over time, and maybe even predict that you might be ready to have a seizure. Dogs can do it, right? They have special trained dogs that can do it. Why can't we teach a computer?
Yeah, I was up until about 3 years ago, I was primarily a freelance journalist, and I did some tech reporting. And in 2014, 2015, people were putting out apps that were starting to predict seizures. There was something, I'm not sure how the technology worked on this one, but one was about having an epileptic. It's not a seizure, an epileptic coma, where it's something about they was able to track maybe his tremors in the hands or something. But that technology was already starting to see human testing 5 years ago. So I imagine it's coming to some degree of maturity and completion now. So here again, we're talking about not just safety from violence, but safety with medical conditions, safety with automotive accidents, all manner of other aspects, risks to us. Because as we know, if we live in North America, most of the time it's not a bad guy that's going to get us. It's going to be accidents. It's going to be our diet more than anything else. I'm not sure the thing about that, but
probably.
Yeah, just wait till that, Zeer 5.0 that tells me, are you sure you want to eat that cheeseburger?
Yeah. I know it looks good, but come on. Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, I'm looking at your cholesterol levels, buddy, and you need to.
Yeah, really hound them. Hey, why don't you just go for a salad? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
But yeah, I think this is a really exciting product, and more than that, I'm really glad to know that there are smart people working on these problems, because there's this counter technology theme that you see in a lot of publications about kids these days and their smartphones and their tablets and their video games, and it's video games that caused that school shooting from last week, and it's tablets that are the reason kids are getting so overweight and all that silliness. And I'm very glad to see people who are very intentionally, very overtly using technology to keep kids safer.
Yes, that's what we should be using it for. They're supercomputers. We carry around what 5 years ago would be a supercomputer.
Yeah.
20 years ago, you're talking about payphones. They would take up the space of my entire house. That much processing power, and they can do so much, and they're under leveraged. The technology is there. We're just not using it for good things. So that's why I'm here, buddy.
Outstanding. So, man, I really want to thank you for taking the time today. But before we go up, what's the smart thing I should have asked you?
Smart thing you should have asked me. What is the world going to be like in 5 years? In 5 years, this technology, whether mine or somebody else's, will be prevalent. It will be on everybody's phone in North America, probably in India, probably in the EU, and most of the rest of the world. Everything is going to be connected. Whether we like it or not, data and collection of data is going to be collected. And we can use it for the common good to keep each other safe, to alert you a mile away that there's an active shooter situation nearby, and this is the way to run. Or it can be used by authoritarian governments to track everybody and do what they want with that data. That is going to happen whether we like it or not. It takes, I believe, the only way to curb that danger is to use our democratic powers, use the vote to try to shape a world that is truly just. Because whether you like it or not, we're all being tracked right now, but that tracking power can be leveraged to keep us all safe, or it can be leveraged by an autocratic society. That's something I've been thinking about relatively recently.
And that makes sense. The idea that, basically we can crowdsource our safety by combining into packages we can use without the intermediary of an authoritarian government or an authoritarian corporation. I don't like getting political on my show, but I've often been mystified by people who draw no difference between, say, the Oregon state government and Google. They are comparably powerful. One is not worse than the other.
At least to everybody in Oregon. Yeah.
Exactly, right? But that by taking responsibility for our own safety and by participating with apps like this, you painted a very interesting picture there where a generation or two from there, if enough phones were connected to a network like Zeer, whether it's Zeer or somebody else, and gun violence happened over here, the AIs could triangulate the audio.
Yes. One of the things we are going to do.
And then send out the information, kind of like that thing Batman did in the second one, where he got all the cell phones to make like a radar imaging of the entire city of Gotham.
Oh yeah, and Morgan Freeman was like, "This is too much power."
Yeah, and you're telling me that that technology is not only incipient but inevitable.
Inevitable. It is inevitable because humans have never met a Pandora's box that they did not want to open.
It's a fact. Excellent. Well, Adam, thank you so much. And where can folks go to find out more about Zeer?
Go to www.ZeerSafe, Zebra Echo Echo Roger, safe.com. You can go to our Twitter or Instagram at ZeerSafe, or you can look me up, Adam David Jones _ on Twitter. And if you have a great idea about how to help people or spread Zeer or other safety technology in your community, please reach out to me because I want to be on your team.
Outstanding. Well, thanks again. And thank you everybody for watching today. Stay safe. Have a great time. We'll see you next time.